And now, the star of the show, Jordan Rogozinski.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Jordan 411 Sports Show. Today's guest is defenseman Josh Morrissey from the Winnipeg Jets. Please welcome Josh to the show. How was your time with the Alberta Raiders in the WHL and Kelowna Rockets?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun playing for those teams, and I really enjoyed myself. That was sort of where I got my start playing at a higher level in hockey, and it was a lot more games and the travel and stuff. And at that point in time, the best competition I'd ever played with or against. So I really feel like it was huge for me in improving as a player, and I had a lot of fun playing for those teams and made a lot of great friends. And it was a great experience, and I think it really helped me to eventually, move on to pro hockey and eventually NHL.
What was the biggest challenge for you at the start of your junior career?
Well, I would say just adjusting to being away from home. I mean, at that point in time, I was 16, and I had moved to Prince Albert, so to a new city for the first time. I wasn't at home with my family anymore and stuff like that. So that was, kind of a challenge. Moving a province over, I guess, and everything else. So that was different, but I had great billets, and the team was really supportive of me. And the other challenge was starting at a new school, which my teachers were great. Our educational team coordinator was amazing, and really made life as easy as possible, and the transition as smooth as it possibly could be. And then so that part went really well. And then on the ice, I would just say the fact that you're playing against a lot older and bigger and stronger players. And, up until that point, I think the, oldest player, the widest age range would be, sort of 2 years older than me that I played against. And in the WHL that, as a 16-year-old, I was playing against some 20-year-olds and stuff like that. So, just playing against more experienced older players, a lot stronger. And that was, so that was a transition as well. But again, I think, in all areas off the ice and in school and in hockey, I had, really good support to help me make the jump and the transition.
Did you find it hard to be a student athlete and playing hockey at the same time?
It was, I think, like I said before, the educational coordinator for our team was so great. She really, kept on top of everything, kept up with all the different teachers, and made sure that we were working hard. And if we weren't, or if someone was, slacking at all, she would give us a kick in the butt when we needed it too. So it was great. She was just a phenomenal lady, and a phenomenal influence, for all of us, in my opinion, with our school work and everything else. So it was challenging when you go on long road trips, and, you'd have to do some work on the bus and stuff like that. But I always found that if you worked hard and just sort of committed to actually, doing the school work, they set it up really well for you to be able to do that, and were really accommodating of you when you were, handing in assignments late because you were on the road or something like that. So, it was just something where if you did the work and you worked hard, you could get it done.
What were you best at school? Like your favorite subject?
I mean, I would say, I don't know. That's a very good question. I liked probably what I was best at may have been some of the English classes that I took. Later on in high school, I took some architecture courses, which are obviously a little bit more specialized, I guess, than just, math and science and stuff. So I really enjoyed those. but science as well. I'd say the subject I had to work the hardest at to do well would probably be math. The other ones came a little bit more easy to me, but I enjoyed math too, even though it was tough.
Can you take me through the draft process and getting drafted 13th overall by the Winnipeg Jets?
Sure. I mean, it's a intense process as a young guy. I mean, I think it probably sort of started, the summer prior to my draft year. It's sort of once the draft before you happens, so the 2012 draft, I mean, basically from the day after that one until the following year's draft, it's sort of, it's the draft year. So the tournament in the summer, the Ivan Holinka tournament, I mean, probably the first experience where, you see that many scouts in the stands watching you, and obviously the interviews start happening, and obviously throughout the year, meeting with teams and meeting with scouts after games and talking to different people. And then it's pretty crazy for sure. I mean, it's a really cool experience and something that as a young player is, I mean, at that point in time, it's the biggest thing that the biggest event in your hockey career. So, yeah, I mean, and then getting into the spring, obviously things kind of speed up, and the combine happens where you're meeting with a bunch of different teams, and sometimes it can be pretty intimidating. And, I think the best advice I received was just to try to be yourself and, be who you are. And, if the team likes you for those reasons, then, then that's great. That's just who you were. You don't want to try to fake it and pretend to be something that you're not, just to, maybe please somebody in an interview or something like that. So, and then, yeah, right on the way through to draft day, which was pretty nerve wracking and intense and exciting and, emotional. It was just all of those things at once. And once I heard my name called to Winnipeg, I was just so excited to be going to a Canadian team and, embrace my family that was there with me at the draft. And, just, it's the culmination of a lot of hard work and sacrifice, sure, by myself, but also my family and parents and the people around me. So it was really great to share that moment with them and then be excited to be coming to Winnipeg.
Now, you played for the World Juniors in 2014 and 15. What was that experience like representing your country?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I felt very fortunate to have the chance to play for Canada, multiple times at the World Juniors. I mean, I grew up watching the World Juniors on TV. I grew up watching Eberle's, magic against Russia the one year, and all the dramatics that happened at that tournament. I mean, you're dealing with extremely talented players that are under 20 years old, where there's going to be crazy things that happen in games, maybe more so than you see in NHL, because you're just dealing with younger players, but they have that talent level, and so it's always extremely fun to watch. So getting the chance to play was really a dream come true. I mean, when I think back about it, it was sort of dreaming of winning a World Junior gold, obviously winning a Stanley Cup, winning an Olympic gold. Like, those are the things that, in the driveway playing street hockey that, or on the backyard rink in the winter, that you dreamed of winning. So, and pretended you were scoring the, winning goal or whatnot. So it was a blast. The first year didn't necessarily go as planned, finishing fourth in Sweden. That was pretty disappointing, but the second year we had quite a few returning players to the team, and we really wanted to try to win gold. And being that the tournament was in Toronto and Montreal, that experience was just heightened to a new level. The tournament in Europe and Sweden was great, but playing at home in Canada was, just amazing. The fan support, the entire country support for our team, and we had such a fun, exciting team, and being able to win gold was, just the culmination of, a lot of dreaming about that time, and also, us as a group and team working hard to get it done. So it was pretty awesome.
What was it like to see a superstar like Connor McDavid firsthand in the World Juniors?
Yeah, it was definitely a privilege to play with him and to see him at a young age. And I remember the first time I played with Connor was a couple years before that at the under 18 World Championships. It was actually my draft year, so I would have been just finishing up my second year of junior, and he was finishing up his exceptional status year. So that was the year he played as a 15-year-old. So the majority of the guys on our team were all 17 years old, I guess, or in that 17-year-old season. And here's Connor, who's 15, and obviously a couple years younger, and that makes a big difference at that point. And he was probably the best player on the team. And that was pretty cool to watch. And obviously you hear all the hype and stuff about him from the time he was a young kid, but he's just an amazing person. You never know that he was the superstar that he is, and the way that he carries himself, the way that he acts. He's just a phenomenal person. And it was great to obviously have the chance to play with him and, sort of become, friends with him a little bit as well. And, he's just a phenomenal guy. It's fun to catch up with him in the NHL now. Not so much on the ice because he's too good out there. That's always a tough matchup, but it's nice to catch up after games. He's just, one of the really good people in the game of hockey, and had to, really feel happy to have him as a friend and had the chance to play with him.
You were speaking that he was a tough matchup. How do you try and defend him?
Probably having him not have the puck is the best possible option. But he's got, world-class speed and skill, and there's not really many players that can in the entire world go obviously that fast, but also think the game while going that fast, and handle the puck while going that fast, and make plays while going that fast. So it's just such a unique combination. And so I think the best, the only hope you really have is to sort of know where he is all the time. And if you get caught sort of flat-footed, or you're watching something else, and all of a sudden he's just got this sort of innate ability to all of a sudden come out of a pile with full speed, in the neutral zone, or out of a breakout or something like that. And, he's gone. He reads the play so well. He knows where the puck's going, and then he's just gone. So I think sort of watching him and trying to mirror him and match his, at least his momentum. You're not going to match his speed, but if you can match his momentum, then you have a chance. If you're flat-footed, you're probably getting roasted wide. So it's definitely that's the plan, but it doesn't always work.
Who's the biggest joker in the dressing room?
Geez, that's a good question. I would say these days for sure it's Anthony Boteto. He's just a hilarious guy. He's one of my favorite teammates that I've ever played with. He's from New York. He's got the great accent, and he's just a ton of fun. He's always rowdy. He's always talking in the room and joking with guys. And the thing about him as well is that he works extremely hard every day. He brings the work ethic and intensity. So he's joking around, but at the same time he's working as hard as he can. And whether he was playing or not or whatever, he's just a joy to have around the room, and really makes it fun to be at the rink. So I would say Bitsy is definitely the biggest, the best personality for sure. And Joker, I would say him as well.
Who's the best ping pong player in the dressing room?
Well, we haven't played a lot of ping pong in
Or
our
soccer?
soccer. Yeah, I mean, we hadn't played a lot of ping pong in the normal dressing room, but we had it in the hub in Edmonton, and I would say, I mean, I didn't see everyone play, but Eric Comrie's got a pretty good ping pong game. He seemed like a tough guy to beat. Soccer wise, I mean, I could probably say a few guys, and a few of the other guys would probably be mad. There seems to always be a pretty good debate of who's the best. I don't play a whole lot of soccer, but probably maybe either Nikolai Ehlers, Patrick Laine. They're pretty good soccer players. Trying to think who else. Matthew Pro's pretty good player. Dmitry Kulikov's a pretty good player. So I don't know who's the best. It's hard to sort of gauge that, but those guys are all pretty good.
What's your game day rituals?
Game day rituals. Well, I mean, I think some of the things that I like to do on game day would be obviously, starting the night before, get a good meal and get a good sleep, and try to get 8 hours. And then game day would be, get a good breakfast. Usually we have morning skate or we go to the rink for meetings and stuff. So, try to enjoy that. And then usually like to have a nap in the afternoon. Depends on the day. I've tried to cut back a little bit, but could be an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, which is always good. And then, try to get to the rink around the same time, which is about, 2 hours and 45 minutes before ish. And, take my six the same way, get dressed in the same order. And, everything's sort of, I wouldn't say so much rituals. I'm not overly superstitious, but it's more so just kind of routine, and the routine kind of prepares you mentally as you work through it. It gets you in that mind frame of being ready to play a game.
Now, what is the outlook on the Winnipeg Jets for next season?
Well, I think I'm excited about next year. I feel like we had obviously a tough transitional year this past season where we lost a large chunk of some really good players. But I think we saw this last season, some of the players that were new into the organization really step up and, really become phenomenal players as well. So I think that, that was a big part of it. Another part that excites me is just, our team is just 1 year older. And, although there's guys like Mark and Blake, in their primes, and Connor in net, a lot of our players are still younger in their career. And I think getting the chance to work through the adversity that we had to work through last season will just help to, help the players to grow to another level and go to another level in their game. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to get going. And I think there's a lot of things that, are encouraging. And anytime you have, some of the high-end players like we have and a goaltender like we do, there's a lot to be excited about for next season.
You talked about the bubble earlier. What were the biggest challenges in the bubble?
I would say that, once we were actually there, the biggest challenges were sort of probably just getting used to life in the bubble. It really wasn't that. It was pretty good. I thought the league did a pretty good job of making it comfortable for us. And, for me, the biggest thing always was making sure it was safe. And, I think they've done, an amazing job with that. It's passed with just flying colors. So I think that was a great part of it. One of the challenges was just ice times, when there were as many teams as there were in in Edmonton. They had the main rink for games, and then the practice rink for the Oilers is right attached to their arena. So that was basically trying to fit in, all the teams for practice there. And then there was another arena just, a little drive away. So, probably just the weird practice times. I mean, we get kind of spoiled and used to practicing at, 11 a.m. or 12 noon most days. So there was a few days where we were practicing at like 4:45, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, early evening. And, it just kind of makes for a bit of a long day waiting to get on the ice. And, since they've moved along in the bubble, I'm sure that part of it's a little bit easier without just all the teams there. But as a player, that was probably the biggest challenge, just adjusting to some of those weird times, morning skate times as well. And those were probably the toughest aspects as a player, which isn't that bad, really.
Can you take me through your first NHL goal?
Sure. I mean, I was playing back in my rookie year against Chicago, and I was at home. I was pretty excited to play Chicago because I grew up, at least in the last maybe, 6 years before, obviously starting in, I think, 2010. And then looking, obviously they won, I think, 3 cups in that span. And I was always a big fan of Duncan Keith. He was a guy that I really sort of watched play a lot, and, felt like I could learn a lot from him, being not the biggest guy in the way that he plays the game, and obviously his ability. So I always watched them a lot. So that was my first time playing Chicago. So I was pretty excited, Patty Kane, Jonathan Taves, Keith, Seabrook. I think Hossa was there still at the time. I'm not sure if Sharp was there. I can't remember. He might have been in Dallas, but Crawford as well. So, a large chunk of their team, right? And guys that, have been just, world-class players for a long time. So I was excited about that. My dad flew into town. He always loved watching Chicago. So he came to watch the game and see the game as well. And I was in the first period, and I just came off a line change, and it was one of those plays that, don't happen very often in the season, but when they do, as a defenseman, your eyes kind of light up because, you come off the bench and you follow up the play, and somehow the puck, squeaks out to you perfectly when you're coming in full speed for the shot. And, you can just put all your muscle into the slap shot. And, again, you don't get those ones very often, but I think Scheif had tried to make a pass and it got deflected, and went right to me, and I shot it and went in, and it was, that was a moment I'll never forget.
What's the atmosphere at Bell MTS Place like?
Yeah, the atmosphere is great. I mean, it's just a phenomenal place to play. I think that obviously what I like about our arena is it's, some of the arenas around the league can kind of get pretty wide, and the fans they're not really on top of the ice. They're pretty far back. And so in our arena, it seems like they're sort of, the crowd's right there with us. So, it's a great place to play. The fans are super intelligent about the game, and they're intense. And, thinking back to playoff rounds and stuff like that, I mean, it's just, it's a tough place to play for other teams. And certainly when they're loud and they're going, we build off that energy and that intensity, and it helps us to play better hockey.
What was the main jump going from junior hockey to the AHL, playing with the Icecaps or the Manitoba Moose?
I would say the biggest transition from junior, sort of the same idea as when you transition from, say, minor hockey to the WHL. You're just playing against bigger, stronger guys. Obviously, more experienced players. At the time when I went up to St. John's, obviously they had a a very good team, and we were able to have quite a bit of success in the playoffs, making it to the finals. But just bigger, stronger, more experienced players that understand the game well, and it was that was probably the biggest thing going to the AHL. Also, just sort of the travel and stuff's a little bit different than before, so that would take a little bit of getting used to. But and then going from the AHL to the NHL, it's kind of an interesting transition because as you go up to each level, to junior and then to the AHL to the NHL, like in some ways the game gets a little bit easier because you're playing with higher skilled and higher caliber players. So they're going to make your life a little bit easier in terms of, their ability and stuff like that. So in some ways it gets easier, but then obviously when you're playing against, world-class players like Patty Kane or Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby, I mean, you've never faced a player like that at any of the levels before. So, one-on-one, it's definitely a lot more difficult. And I would say that in the NHL, if you make a mistake, there's a good chance that the other team's going to capitalize on that and at least get a chance against. Whereas in other leagues, sometimes you can get away with making mistakes or, being a little bit out of position, and you're not necessarily going to get, I guess, victimized for that, as well as if they do try to take advantage of that, it's, half second or a second later, so you have a chance to recover. But, when you're playing against top NHL players, they can take advantage of that in a split second. So those would be the biggest challenges and difficulties moving up to the next levels, for me at least.
Who was your mentor in the NHL? Like, who brought you along?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty lucky. I had a number of guys, first would probably be when I broke into league, Dustin Bufflin. I mean, he sort of took me under his wing. We played together for probably the first 40 games of my career. And, he just was obviously a phenomenal player. He's one of the most talented players I've ever seen playing hockey. And, just really, I think we kind of hit it off, and he, just tried to make life really comfortable for me. And, whenever we were playing, like in games, I mean, he's got such a great personality. He's a fun guy. So, if we made mistakes or anything like that, he'd keep it pretty light. And it just was an absolute blast. It was first time playing the NHL. Like, you can be a little bit nervous, of course. And, he just made me feel super comfortable. So that was, Buff was definitely one of those guys. I mean, Benny Sherratt, Tyler Myers, Mark Scheifele, Jacob Trouba, even though they're not, some of those guys aren't a lot older than me, they had all played a number of years by the time I got in. So those guys and their support, Blake Wheeler as well. And just, there was a lot of guys. We have a great group of guys in Winnipeg, and they helped to, they really helped make it a smooth transition for me and help me learn the game at the NHL level.
How's Paul Maurice as a head coach?
Paul's a great coach. I mean, I've, had only Paul in the NHL, and he's the best coach I've had, throughout my career. At any level, I feel like, he's very fair, but he, demands, you to play well and obviously to execute. But he understands the situation that players are in. I think the biggest thing that he does for us is, obviously he's a phenomenal motivator. But I also think that, sort of on a one-on-one level, he understands that there's days where, you're on the road, guys have been away from their families, maybe it's back-to-back, you're tired, he understands sort of the psyche of the players and the position that they're in. So, he can really relate to them that way. And, kind of, he's a very fair coach and someone that you want to play hard for. And he also, I feel like, does a great job of planning our game plans against other teams. So, I really love playing for him, and I think most guys that play for him enjoy playing for him.
Well, thank you for coming on, Josh.